Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another plant chores vlog. We have a couple things to do and we're also going to do a little bit of a Q&A because my life is changing. Things are happening, and if you follow my vlog channel, I've already announced it over there, but I did get a job in corporate America and there was a couple questions from my question box about that, and I was kind of wanting to announce it in a more demure way, which I might still, because not everybody watches every single one of my videos, so stay tuned. One of my husband's coworkers has this plant that they got and it is not doing well, so I said that I would help fix it up, and while I do that, I'm going to answer the first question. What plants did not survive the move? Any tips when moving with plants? There were a couple. I would say maybe 10 if I had to guess. Like every time I do a number guess, I second guess myself because it could be very off, but I think it was around 10. My tip that I learned this time, and I made a like move with my plants video before. Oh my gosh, this plant has really bad fungus gnats. Oh no, 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 no. As soon as I took off this Spanish moss, it became very obvious that it has really bad, no. We are not putting that in my house. What can I spray on this immediately? Oh my God, there's one that's loose. I haven't had fungus gnats in so long. This cannot be the thing. One did get out. I can see it flying around. I'm gonna have fungus gnats now, aren't I? Darn it. Ugh. Should I'm gonna go take it to the garage again. We're gonna go back to the garage. Hold on, I'm not gonna take you, but hold on. I removed basically every bit of soil that was left on this plant because there's probably larvae in it. So I unpotted it in the garage and then I stripped all the soil off. This is not something I would do if I had the fungus gnats myself. It's a little extreme, like I'll be honest. But hopefully I don't get fungus gnats now in my house, but we'll see. Anyway, I did make a plant funeral video a couple videos back, which explains a lot of the deaths that I got from the move. But if I had to give like a specific piece of advice from this move that I just did, it would be to put your plants in boxes. I did that and I was really happy that I did. And also, I would say, in addition to that, put padding between the plants in the boxes, because some of my pots that I really, really loved got broken because they were rubbing together. So yeah, that could have been prevented if I just had better, not security, but just better protections for them. Okay, this is relevant because I'm about to use it, but I want to know more about didnt and how you formulated it. So didnt was and is one of my proudest creations. It is a soil that I made in conjunction with a company called Tank's Green Stuff in Tucson, Arizona. They ship all over the country, all over the continental US, I should say. I'm cutting off all these brown tips, by the way. It's gonna make the plant look kind of ugly, but I feel like the brown tips are worse and the plant will repopulate all of its new leaves soon enough, and these tips that are cut off, you won't really notice them anymore. didnt started off as a soil product that I mixed myself. So I told them, like, I honestly don't remember the conversation that started it, but I do believe that we met up to film a soil video, and then we were like, wait, should we collaborate? And it went from there, I believe. It was a really fun process, and basically I told Shota, who is my main contact there, I told him, this is my mix that I do. And so Shota knows so much about soil, like so much. So he was really helpful in identifying the specific ingredients that I was using and finding a better product, like a more elevated version. I was using orchid bark, and orchid bark turned into cocoa chips. And I was using pumice already. I loved pumice more. I liked pumice more than perlite, but I wasn't using the big chunky pumice. So you can see in didnt, let me find a good piece. didnt has big chunky pumice like this, which isn't exactly common, and they do sell their pumice separately. So if you do still want to mix your own soil, like that's fine. They sell all of these ingredients for de la tanks separately. Anyway, so the smaller pumice that I was using turned into the bigger pumice, and then I was using just like, I don't even know what soil, just like a regular potting soil, like maybe a cactus mix or like a Miracle Grow type of thing, and like a basic potting soil, and then I would mix all those ingredients together. So we swapped out the potting mix for their organic compost, which is certified organic. It's really, really nice. And I got to tour their facility where they make it. And I have a lot of videos on my channel, like going to their facilities and seeing all of these things. It's such a cool process to see soil being made. And then from there, we came up with the recipe, more or less, like the consistent ratio, because when I mixed my own soil, I would basically do this ratio that we decided, but it was kind of random every time. So having it like in a formulaic system makes the soil the same every single time. And anyway, from there, Shota worked with the artist that Tank's Green Stuff normally works with for the art on the label, which I love. I think it's so cool, and it matches with their branding, and I feel like it matches with mine as well. Like I said, it's one of the products and things that I've made in this whole career in plants that I'm the most proud of. Like, I think it's so cool that I did that, and that it's such a great product that holds up. And obviously this isn't an ad, but if you wanted to check it out, I would highly suggest it. It changed my life, you know, like I know that I made it, but at the same time, if I wasn't the one that made it, someone would have, and I would have bought it. So I'm glad that it was me and Shota. We did it together. So yeah, I highly suggest it. I'll leave a link down below so that you can see on their website all of the retailers, because there's quite a few in Arizona and then a couple like smattered around the rest of the country. Okay, this plant, I was going to repot it, but I don't have a pot that would be suitable. So, sorry, my head is so itchy in this wool beret, but my hair's very dirty and it's cold, so I'm wearing a beret. Anyway, I'm gonna top up the soil because it definitely needs that. But this pot broke in the move. This is one of the things I was mentioning, like put something between your pots, like even if it's like towels from your house, like just wrap your pots in the towels. You can obviously wash them. It's not a big deal if they get a little dirty. But this pot is like one of my favorite pots in my collection, and it's broken now and I'm really sad about it. I was going to pot it in something else and just like get rid of this pot because I just don't like the way that it looks when it's broken, but I don't have a suitable replacement, so I'll be on the hunt for that. But as I was looking at this plant, I thought that it had mealybugs because there's like white stuff all over it. And there's also like really fine webbing. So there's something going on. Like I think there's a pest here. So I'm just gonna wipe it down and hope for the best. I mean, ficus are definitely prone to things like spider mites. So I wouldn't be shocked if it had spider mites. I don't know. It's not really acting like it has spider mites besides a couple leaves looking a little bit bad. But I'm pretty sure that it does. I guess I didn't show it to you. Here's the after of the redo on this plant. To be honest, it looks pretty bad, but it looked worse before, so now it's just gonna be on its recovery journey. And I'm going to tell my husband's coworker to water it like once a month, maybe every 3 weeks, because it might have been getting too much water, but there also was barely any soil in the pot, so it definitely needed a repot. So I gave it a pretty good size up on pots, so hopefully it'll be good for a while. Do you have any words for 2025? Yes, I do. My word for 2025 is stability, and I'm just using Dawn Power Wash. It's a little, I don't know if I really should, but I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna shower it off to take off the soap. But I usually use some version of like Dawn to some degree in all of my pest management. So this is Dawn that's kind of watered down with other things, and it should be fine. But anyway, I am gonna shower it off because it can be a little harsh sometimes. So anyway, my word is stability, and that really goes into like the whole corporate job thing. So there was some questions like why I did it and what's the industry. So I'm just gonna tell you as much as I want to, because I'm not gonna like dox myself here, but I'll tell you a little bit about it because obviously I share my life online and I don't mind. It's kind of exciting. So the reason that I needed to get a job, well, why does anybody get a job? Okay, well, we'll get that out of the way first. Social media is a very volatile career, and you're really operating at the whim of the algorithm and how good you are at selling things. And there's just parts of that that I don't love. I don't like having my channel and the things that I do feel like I'm just selling something 24/7. Also, that is kind of how you make money doing this, because YouTube does pay you for your views, but it's really like cents. So it's not a ton. It definitely could be a good living if you're making like a lot of views. Not to get in the nitty-gritty about money, but why does anybody get a job? Okay, so there's that. Number two, we moved, we have a child, and there's just more responsibility in life now. And I am a person who likes to travel. I'm a person who likes to have my things. Of course, I'm willing to make sacrifices and all of that, but there comes a point where you have to just decide for yourself what you're willing to give up and what you're not. And there were just some things that we're not willing to give up, so we had to pivot the career plans. I want to make it very clear that I have no plans of stopping YouTube, because ultimately this is my dream job. And whether I have to kind of scale it back to passion project for now and come back to it later, like that's okay. I can do that. I have done it before. I have worked a traditional job before while doing my YouTube channel, and it wasn't the easiest thing in the world, but also it's not, there's a certain amount of freedom you have when you know that your channel is not income driven. Like, you don't stress as much when a video doesn't do well, and you don't, I don't know, you're not always thinking about how you can like perfectly integrate this brand and like all of these things. Like, there's just so much less pressure to perform the way that the algorithm wants you to, and then you can just do what feels good to you. So to some degree, I am still working with the algorithm because I don't want to be doing this for nothing. But at the same time, moving this back to passion project gives me that creative freedom to post the videos that I want to post, and not necessarily the videos that YouTube wants me to post or the algorithm. Because a lot of the videos that I really enjoy making are not the ones that go really viral and get really big. I am aware that no matter, you know, how much I don't want it to change, ultimately my channel is going to change just with my life changing, but I hope that it isn't noticeable, at least in the frequency at which I show up. So that is just going to require me being more mindful about scheduling myself, basically just all the executive functioning things that I do struggle with. I have ADHD, I'm sure you guys know this. So it's gonna be a challenge for me for sure. And I'm up for the challenge. I haven't, like, I don't know, I've changed careers twice. Before I worked in marketing, I worked as a teacher, and somebody actually asked me, like, how do I feel knowing that I went to school to be a teacher and I'm not using that degree? But the situation with that is my degree is in English literature. So my minors don't really matter, but it was in linguistics. So I took more of an interest in language as a whole and communication as a whole rather than specifically teaching. Like, my goal when I went to college was to be a high school English teacher, and I was a middle school English teacher, and I really enjoyed the teaching part of it. There's a lot about teaching, and I've talked about this before, but there's a lot about teaching that I didn't love, and a lot of it is just out of our control as small individuals in a school. The kids were great, but it just, anyway, I've talked about that before. In this new job, and I feel like in this current position, like making plant content, I am using my degree because I'm actively writing every single day, I'm communicating, I'm teaching, and a lot of people have told me, like, no, you're still a teacher. Like, this is very much teaching, and the way that I am able to communicate is very much like a teacher, which makes me really happy to know that that is still like living on. And since my degree is broad, and especially since I have this like working knowledge of marketing, I was able to get a good job in marketing. So a couple people were asking, like, what's the industry and will I be able to use my creative skills in this industry? So I won't be using my creative skills, like my tactile creative skills directly, like the sewing and the building. not those skills, but skills like video editing and just like my knowledge of content creation and marketing and like all of that is definitely going to be utilized, which I'm really happy about because I've worked really hard to learn this industry and like marry it with my degree. So it's going to be really cool to see all of those things come together. And the company that I'm working for is in the creative industry. So when I saw it, because I was applying for jobs officially since September, but I had put in some applications prior to that for some some online jobs because I knew that I needed to get a job for a long time, probably since Nora was born, but it just didn't make sense because I just had a baby and I knew we were going to be moving. So I was putting it off, and then finally once we got settled here, I felt like I could more seriously apply for jobs. So I applied for at least 120 jobs probably, and I was really focusing more on online marketing positions, some part-time, some full-time. Long story short, I just was not able to compete with the global market for these online only jobs, these work from home only jobs. You're competing with everybody in the country. And I ended up applying for a job that is hybrid in Oklahoma City. So I saw it on Indeed and I was like, wow, that looks like a really cool opportunity. And I applied, and anyway, everything moved really fast and it was really great. And it's a wonderful fit for both of us. So I'll be using my online creative skills, and they're really stoked about my channel and like everything that I've learned here, which is really great because there were a couple jobs that were like, are you gonna have time for us since you have this thing? And I was like, obviously, if I'm applying for jobs, I'm going to prioritize this because that's what I need. I am really excited for the work environment I'm going to be in because it's very much a corporate space, but it's also very creative and just cool. Like, it's just a cool company, and it's in an industry that I really love and in an industry that I am a participant in. So yeah, it's gonna be good. So that's about the job. Let's keep it moving. I'm going to go shower this off in the sink and bring you Cooper. Okay, so our next set of chores is going to be watering this cabinet. I watered my other plants in the plant room a couple days ago with Nora, and somebody actually asked how she does with the plants, like does she interact with them yet? And the answer is kind of. I was having her help me with the watering, mostly because I needed to do it and she was awake. So I didn't want to just like push her out. I'm trying to integrate her in with as many of the things that I'm doing, like house chores especially, like she can do them with me. She really likes helping. So we were watering the plants, like she was helping me like tip the watering can, and when one was done, I would like, obviously with her, we would carry it to the little towel to dry off. Also, I like showed her the plant and I was like, plant, and then she said a word that kind of sounded like plant, so that was cute. Somebody asked me if I'm doing more merch drops, and this part of the video is sponsored by Squarespace, but the reason for that is because my merch is hosted on my Squarespace website. It's really one of the best places for entrepreneurs to go to succeed online and share about what they're doing with the world. I personally use it for a couple of different uses. Number one, I have obviously my store. I have a merch drop happening right now, so it's open for a week currently, and the dates that it's open is actually like on the shop page, but it's open right now when you're watching this video. So if there's any merch piece that I have put out that you liked and you didn't get to grab, or you wanted to get, I don't know, one for a friend or whatever it may be, you can go over to my site and do that. Before I started with Squarespace, my website was hosted elsewhere, and I was able to move over my domain really, really easily. That was one of the most intimidating parts of putting my website on Squarespace, was I was so scared that that was going to be a hard process, but they have a lot of really helpful web pages. And also, if there was a question that they didn't have a specific web page for, their support is really easy to get in contact with, and they're super helpful. I also really love that Squarespace is utilizing using AI, like design intelligence, to help you have a cohesive brand look across your platforms. So if there's something on my website that I want to share on Instagram or something like that, they kind of create for you content that you can share. But also I'm opening up pre-sales once a month in this new year. I'm really excited to be doing more merch stuff. Every couple of months, I'm going to be introducing new pieces. I have an endless supply of ideas. Like I literally have so many ideas. So I'm super excited to finally like have a system. I found a supplier in Oklahoma City that I really, really like to like actually print garments. So that's been really great to get that contact. I really love that with Squarespace, I'm able to accept many different forms of payments. Like it's not just credit card payments. I can also do Klarna and Afterpay. And it's just helpful to have multiple ways for people to pay. I feel like that definitely helps with sales. If you are looking for a new way to share about your creative process and sell products or whatever it is that you do, you want to share about it online, I would highly suggest checking out Squarespace. You can use the code Becca de la Plants to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Now, I don't know if the sound of this water so close to me is annoying. Sometimes in the past, the water trickling, I've never gotten a negative comment about it, but it is feeling like it's very loud next to me right now. But let's look at what other questions we have. This is a good one. How to deal with the judgment of people saying, really, another plant? Okay, when I read this earlier, my first response was like, why do we care? Why do we care? Number one, why does anybody care how someone else spends their money? Like if I want to buy plants, unless it's like seriously causing a financial problem in my life, why does anybody need to comment on how many plants I'm buying? And like, if I'm able to keep up with them and take care of them, I don't understand why anybody would ever make this comment. So I'm sorry if there's people in your guys' lives who are making these comments. To be honest, and not to be that person, I feel like people make comments like that, kind of backhanded comments about people's hobbies because they're jealous. I know. It's annoying. And I don't know if that's actually what the case is. Happy people don't make disparaging comments like that about other people, I don't think. Like, why would you need to say that to somebody? I just don't get it. So how would I handle it if somebody said that to me? I would say, yeah, plants make me happy. What's it to you? Like, I don't understand. Like, literally, I'm not that confrontational, but I feel like that would really piss me off if someone said that. So I'd really think I'd be like, what is it? How does this affect you? Like, why? Are you upset that I'm happy? Like, I don't, not to go like toxic, but it's just irritating. Like, I guess if it's your partner and your plants are completely taking over the house and they don't like that, I feel like there's rare occasions where it's appropriate to make that kind of a comment. It's always people who don't have the right, who just make the most out of pocket comments. If you love plants and you're able to take care of them and you're able to keep up with them and it's not negatively affecting your mental health, how many plants you have, who gives a This plant still appears to be moist from the last time I watered, so I'm not gonna water this one, but also I'm considering getting rid of this because I'm not vibing with this plant. It's just looking ugly. Like, honestly, I might go throw it away right now. I'm gonna go throw it away right now. This is the year of getting rid of things that are weighing me down. I know that I said my word is stability, but I feel like it's also declutter, but I want to find like a prettier word instead of declutter, like maybe less. Maybe my word is less. I don't know. I just don't want to feel pulled down by possessions, and moving really puts that into perspective, like how much stuff you have. And I feel like we have just a lot, you know? This plant is currently blooming. Let me show you how beautiful. This is one of my most prolific bloomers as far as Hoya go. It's definitely blooming quite frequently, but it's been probably 6 months to a year since it last bloomed. And it's bloomed on this peduncle so many times. I don't know if you can see how long that is. She is putting in work, and I really hope that we will get leaves, because when it lived in the greenhouse, it put out so many leaves, but every time it's not lived in the greenhouse, it's like strictly putting out flowers, which like are beautiful, but like I want more. Like, I bought this plant for the foliage. The flowers are cool. I love Hoya flowers, but I don't know. Leaves are the vibe. Speaking of leaves, look at how big this leaf is going to be. I forgot the name of this. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go back through my videos and figure out the name, but it's one of the big leaf philodendrons and it's pretty small. It has a little baby attached to it, which I might like separate and give to someone. I don't know. I don't need both of these, but I'll just, whatever, I'll keep them both. But if I ever go to a plant swap, I would probably bring a piece of this because why not? Did you drop a bunch of money on a new work wardrobe? Okay, so this is a fun thing. I did not necessarily have to because I feel like this is a workplace that would be totally chill with fun, kind of kooky outfits. So there definitely were a few things that I wanted to add to my wardrobe, but the 2 times that I went in for interviews, I really didn't notice anybody dressed like super formal. Like definitely like blouses and like nice pants, like jeans or something, but like they were wearing jeans on like a Wednesday. So I feel like it's a little bit more of a casual corporate. Like there were people wearing t-shirts and jerseys. So it doesn't feel like stiff by any means. I don't feel a ton of pressure to buy a bunch of new stuff, which I'm glad for because I really hate when I have to buy new clothes. But I am planning a little video on my vlog channel of making my corporate wardrobes. I'm going to be sewing stuff that I would probably wear anyway, but just pairing it with like slacks or nicer jeans or something like that. If you see people who work for like more corporate creative companies or just creative companies in general, the people there dress kind of quirky and I feel like they would be cool with that. Like in one of my interviews I wore, because it was around Christmas time, I wore a knitted Christmas tree vest with like a nice like shirt underneath with like pretty sleeves and like jeans, and I feel like that's the vibe. So yeah, I didn't have to buy a ton of new stuff. I did do a little bit of shopping for the free people. Like they do like an end of year sale or whatever, like sale on sale. So this shirt I got, it was probably like $15 or something, which is insane, but I love free people, but I usually shop their sales. And speaking of sewing, somebody asked me, hold on, let me look at the specific question. What's the first thing to learn when learning to use a sewing machine? This might seem obvious, but just learn to sew in a straight line. That is honestly one of the hardest things about sewing, but it's not really actually. There's a lot of things that are much harder, but if you don't have that skill down, everything else is hard. So use the lines on your machine or your presser foot, or you can even put like a piece of colorful tape on your machine so that you can line the fabric up with it and keep the fabric lined up with that tape the whole time you're sewing. And honestly, the feed dogs on the machine, like those are like the little things that like pull the fabric through, because a lot of the time you don't have to touch the fabric when you're sewing and it will sew straight like on its own because the feed dogs are pulling the fabric. But using something like tape or like rulers and stuff like that will help you. But I would say definitely learning to sew straight lines is going to be the most important skill. Learning to thread your machine like really, really well is another big one, because if you have to struggle every time you have to thread the machine, you're gonna hate sewing. Like it's gonna suck. If you buy a machine from like a dealer, which sounds kind of funny, but sewing machines are kind of like cars. Like there's different brands and there's different dealers that carry the brands. So there's probably a small like locally owned quilt shop near you, and they probably have a specific brand of sewing machine that they carry. Like one near me carried Viking and Bernina. You just have to find like the brand you like and then you'll look up local dealers. They'll sometimes offer a free class when you buy a machine with them, and I would always suggest taking that because you'll learn a bunch of tricks of your machine from the ladies. Usually it's women. I don't think I've ever taken a class from a man, so that's why I say ladies. This El Choco is so ugly, but I love this plant and the potential that it has, and so that's the difference in keeping a plant like this versus that anthurium that I just tossed, because this plant looks honestly worse than that anthurium, but I love it so much and I'm hopeful that it will someday go back to its former glory. We will see. It does have a new leaf that's coming out, but it did also lose a leaf recently, so we will see on that. Quick round of the last couple of questions though. Gardening, seed starting, not sure if you have a garden in Oklahoma yet. I don't currently have a garden here, but there are plans. I have plans to install a vegetable garden. I've sort of been toying around with plans. I am going to be using, I think, garden planters from Veggo Gardens. They're like the metal, like corrugated ones. They're really nice, and I'm hoping that that works out because I'm super excited for that. It's gonna be so much fun to have a garden, and honestly to like be able to build it again from scratch because I learned so much the last time. I'm definitely going to do an irrigation system, so stay tuned on the vlog channel because that'll be over there. Why did the Potted Together podcast stop, and are you three starting a new plant podcast? We're not starting a new plant podcast, but we are starting a new podcast that is life. It's just about life. And it's not necessarily going to be us just like talking the whole time. We have lots of ideas for things that we want to do. So I'm not going to share because we haven't shared anything collectively, but just know what we have shared collectively is that we are doing another podcast. Stay tuned because we are meeting up next week. I'm so excited to see them, but we're meeting up next week and we're going to do more brainstorming and planning and just like taking photos for the branding, and it's gonna be really fun. So me, Adam, and Nicole are definitely not going away, but we have been on Patreon this whole time. So if you wanna follow us on Patreon, it's Potted Together Patreon. It's patreon.com/pottedtogether. I'll have it linked down below as well if you're interested. How are you settling in the new place emotionally? What are you looking forward to? Okay, so I go in waves of being like, yeah, this is great. Like I love living here, and waves of just like total despair and sadness. This week has been sad because mid-Missouri as a whole got a really big snowstorm. And while a lot of people were not loving the snowstorm, I always loved when we got snowstorms because it was just different and fun, and I never grew up with snow. So it was always just like a unique, fun experience. So they got like, I don't know, 8 inches of snow or something. And we only had one time where that happened when we were living there. We got so much snow and we like made this big fort. It was so fun. So definitely bummed that we missed that, and I'm feeling sad right now. That's a big thing that I miss about that house. Obviously I miss the greenhouse. Like it's always gonna break my heart that we built that and I can't use it. Mainly I'm just trying to adjust to life here and just, I don't know. It is what it is, you know? Like I can't constantly dwell on that house, and I didn't want to talk about it too much online anymore because I just don't want to be a drag, but like it's really sad. Like I was not this sad when I left Arizona. I was really excited to move on to something different, but it's definitely sad this time, and we will move again from this place, and I hope that I dig in enough here to where I am this sad again, because not that I want to be sad, but I want to dig in here. Like I don't know what other word to use, but I want to embed myself in the community here and like meet really great people and have awesome people in my life like all over the country, because I have amazing people in Arizona, now in Missouri, and in Oklahoma. We're just meeting people and creating our community. And so I love this house. It's a great, beautiful house, and it's given me lots of opportunities already. Like making this big wall was a dream. It's so beautiful. So I'm excited for the future and life here, and just continuing to explore. Like living in a big city is really fun because there's always something to do. That's also a really positive thing about living here. Thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me while we did some plant chores and answered some questions. If you have any additional questions, leave them down below. I might answer more questions soon. Make sure that you're subscribed if you're not already. And yeah, see you next time. Bye.